Jim, thanks for coming on the podcast, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me.
So you came in from Virginia Beach where you retired, right? And then you're in Salt Lake City for business?
Yeah, I work at Faro Concepts, which is a tactical gear company just down the street.
Yeah.
It's a really awesome company.
They're in Salt Lake City?
They are in
Ogden?
Ogden, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're in Ogden, yeah.
Yeah.
So they got a fact. They just moved from Montana.
Yeah.
They got the big warehouse in Ogden. They got reason I really like it is they got innovative stuff, stuff that you would probably dig because I dig it. Belts, tactical gear, and then they have everything in stock.
Really?
They have 7 different colors. They're from tiger stripe to OD green, coyote, multicam. They got all the colors.
Is it tactical nylon with clothing or?
There's no clothing.
Just tactical nylon?
Yeah, just tactical gear, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to check them out. I didn't realize they moved from Montana. They're in Ogden now.
Yeah.
So you're consulting with them?
No, I'm one of their the VP of sales.
Oh, awesome.
So I'm just working that piece, helping them get the gear out.
Really
kind
cool.
of like marketing it out with mostly like soft guys.
Awesome. Are they? I imagine part of their strategy is doing Berry compliant stuff, so they make some of the stuff here.
Yeah, all of it's made here.
All of it's made here.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I got to give them a shout out and check them out.
Yeah.
I might know a guy. Let's talk about your military career. When did you retire?
2018.
Wow, recent. So
Yeah.
your transit. I mean, what you're four? That's 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So it took me probably about 4 years to kind of get my feet settled. Are you feel settled?
No, that's what, like this year,
Yeah.
2024, I was like, okay, I got to start branching out. Because before that, when I retired, you know the deal, like you have a purpose
Yeah.
when you're in the military, right?
Yeah.
Especially with the soft guys, right? All of us have a purpose, extreme purpose.
Yeah.
And then when you get out, you don't have that purpose. It's almost like deflating. So you stay busy as much as you can to try to recreate like an overseas deployment or the
team house
command headset type thing where you're running a crew of people, And so, I had like several jobs and it was just like not satisfying. And I was just, lack of sleep, try and do this, try and do that. I had my kids I'm working with, full custody of them. So it was like a lot of stuff going on. And I was like losing sleep, not taking care of myself. And then finally I was like, okay, I got to slow down a little bit, slow down with a purpose and then just refocus, say no to some things, not say yes to everything.
It's tough,
yeah. And do things with a purpose. And, I started my own company a while ago and it's been going kind of slow, but I wanted to like start this year, really push it.
You did, how many years did you do in the Navy?
27 years.
27. I just talked to a gentleman, a retired lieutenant colonel that did 27 years as well. And just, I did 20, but when I look at a 27-year career, that's a lot more time. I mean, 27 years is a big commitment.
Yeah.
Did it go by fast for you?
It kind of did. Because you're like in the Matrix. It is truly like you're in the Matrix, right? Mm-hmm. And the cool thing is like when you enjoy your stuff and you're just deploying all the time and you're training all the time, it goes by and you pick up leadership positions and you try to stay focused on your job, not be the admin guy,
Yeah.
You're always going to pick up admin as you move up, but you really got to balance it out with your core job.
Yeah.
Like for us, SEAL, for you, Green Beret, you really got to, that's what people look up to. It's like, hey, how good are you at your job as you move up?
Yeah.
Do you still have it? Otherwise, you're not going to be followed as well. People are going to see that right through it.
Yeah, I know a lot of guys who are like you that have a more operational experience, but you actually have to work to stay operational. If you just let the system control you and manipulate and manage your career, you're going to be in an admin position nearly more than your actual operational career. Correct.
So I was a command master chief, and the status quo is like you sit behind a desk, you tell people what to do, you could get out of shape. You're not going to test yourself anymore because you don't want to look like, you're not as good, like you're failing. Like you don't go to the climbing wall because you're not as good as the younger guys. You don't go shooting because you're not as good, but you need to be out there, even if you aren't as good, because people respect that. Like, wow, Master Chief's out here shooting with us, and he doesn't care. And so he's not the top 5 shots out of us 30 guys, but he's the top 10. That's impressive.
Yeah.
With all the other stuff he has going on. So you got to work to be operational.
Yeah.
And then people are counting on you for your experience. That's the key thing, is if all your experience has got you to where you are, and they may be planning an op, and they go, yeah, we're going to do this mortar op. And then you could come up and say, hey, yeah, why don't we use these MI-17s to take us behind the mountains and then take the mortars up there, get closer, and take all these guys out. And they're like, we could do that? Yeah. So with your experience and as you move up in rank, your left and right limits open up, your knowledge base, and you should be using that operationally.
Yeah, I want to get into leadership with you in a little bit, but that's interesting too, because I imagine for you, through the span of a 27-year career, being a new guy a lot, and then being a very senior guy in the Navy and special operations, and seeing the new guys come up, some of the things, or a lot of the things that new guys or inexperienced guys don't see when you open their eyes to it, especially if they're open-minded, and typically they are with senior leadership, they're just like, whoa, I didn't even know that was an option. I didn't even know that was a path that we could take. But based on your experience, like you said, you can give them those visions or those paths. Yeah,
exactly. It's like you're mentoring them, right? With stuff that you're just building on their base.
Yeah.
And if you have, like I've had administrative, like Master Chiefs, and they're more like, hey, haircut, this and that, which is important back in garrison, right?
But it's a different kind of person.
It's a different type of person. When you go overseas, he's not, when you go, hey, Master Chief, how do you think about this op? He's like, I don't know, you tell me. Like, because he hasn't been out there. So he's lost. Even if you just miss it for 2 years, you're not
behind.
You're behind the power curve. So you can't really have as much input. And the more years you put behind you and the more administrative you are, the less effective you are to be that mentor for operational guys. And so it leaves it up to the middle management guys to take it. And sometimes they got a lot of experiences, but could you imagine like having a Jedi master, like command sergeant major or command master chief that is like a Jedi master telling you, hey, yeah, that's a great idea, but we could add this or that. And like, holy shit.
And it's gospel.
Right.
That person
or we're going to remain over day, and when they come to get the bodies, we're going to light those guys up, It's like, oh shit, So that's just an asset management thing, right? So that's excitement for a new guy or a junior guy or a middle management guy. They're like, wow, I want to be like him. Like, I don't have to get out in 10 years because my operational career is over. I could move up in rank
and be more creative.
And be more creative and do more things. And your left and right limits open up.
That's amazing. Yeah, there's a lot of crossover we'll get into about that experience into the corporate world as well. Let's talk about your Navy career, how you started, kind of how you migrated through the teams and the evolutions, and then what you did in the final days and years of your career.
Yeah, so I went to college first. I messed up my knee, so I go, okay, I can't join the Navy. I'm just finished college. So I finished that. That was frustrating, but I'm glad I did. I just got a degree in geography, just something, right?
Oh, cool.
And then joined the Navy, went to SEAL Team 1 on the West Coast. Did 6 years there, 3 deployments. It was in the early 90s. And I left there in 97. I was a sniper, went to sniper school, sniper instructor, and then screened for Dam Neck, and got picked up and went over there in 97, started Green Team in 97.
You started Green Team in 97?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got there early.
Yeah.
Early compared to in the GWAT as far as the GWAT is concerned.
And it was good because I spent in Gold Squadron, and the coolest thing was like I was like one of the top shots at SEAL Team 1 for pistol, right? Top 5 guys. And I go through Green Team, and it's a different level, right? And then I go on Gold Squadron, and one of the first days we had like 6 new guys. We go into Gold Squadron, we had like 30 dudes, and we went to the range. It was a Friday. We go to the range. It's like a Rogers range, and we got like lanes. Like it was boat crews then. Now it's like teams, right? So teams of 5 to 7 guys, and we're competing with each other. So basically, you had to unload your mag, right? And when you miss a shot, you roll out. So you're shooting from 5 meters down to 20 meters, and all these targets, hostage rescue, headshots, and all that stuff. So you're shooting, and when you miss a shot, you roll out, and the next guy goes in. So you're shooting, I don't know, like hundreds of plates until everybody goes through, and whoever gets these plates down first wins. And I remember I was watching everybody, and I was like, holy fuck. These guys, all of them are badass shots. Like they're shooting and their gun's not even moving. It's like, and they go through their mag without missing, and then they roll out, right? And the next guy comes in, and I go up there and I shoot 2 shots and I miss. I'm like, fuck. And I go, man, I was like the top shot at COT1. I'm like the worst here.
Wow.
And it was exciting. I was like, man, I was the top because there was nobody challenging me.
Yeah. Now you got to level up. So
Right.
you got to work.
I got to level up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was excited. I was like, whoa, this is like what it is to be like the Jedi, the Padawan,
Yeah.
learning from all these guys. They're badass shots. And then within 6-7 months, I was back up at, top 10, but only because those guys showed me that you can break that level.
That's insane, man.
Yeah, it was
That's
awesome.
awesome. You get to gold in 97.
Yep.
And then where are you when 9/11 happens? Are you in the building?
Yeah, I was Virginia Beach. I was training the FBI, WFO SWAT guys. We're on the range, or we're doing hand to hand or something like that, and that's when that happened. Like right around that 9 o'clock time, 8:50, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And people were like, "What the hell?" Those guys left immediately because you got the call and they took off because you're up in D.C. And then I was a sniper by then, so our task was, hey, protect the command, just like CAG, hey, we're high value targets. So just, like snipers on the beaches looking for aircraft coming in or whatever it was. They didn't know what was going on.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So we had our 50 cows like lined up, overlooking the range towards the beach and any flight paths that may be coming in.
I've never heard that before. So you guys were doing force protection for the organization.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because the Pentagon got hit.
Yeah.
So they didn't know what was going on. That was the only thing we really could do because nobody knew what to do.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about your experience in the GWAT, because I imagine, did you stay in Dev the entire time from
20 years?
20 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's talk about your career there. What was your overall sense of your career looking back on it, the experiences you had, combat, trauma, the things that you went through?
I was lucky. Like, I'm getting a chill right now. So I did some years in the assault squadron, and then usually if you're a solid assaulter, you could screen for recce. And I screened for recce about 2.5 years, a little early. And so around 2000, I was on gold recce. And when the war started, that's how I deployed. And it was awesome because, the field craft skills, all that stuff. I had really good leaders.
Yeah.
Like when we did skiing, it was like tactical skiing, night nods, how you pack your ruck, which you know everything about. Like if you don't pack it right, you're dumping it out to find something. And then you're just garage
Gypsy
sale.
camp, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a technique of packing and rolling up all the loose straps with taping it and being efficient and having like a bolt bag and things like that. So luckily I had a good leader that was training us like that before the war.
Wow.
So when we went, of course, you're never going to know where. It could be in the jungle, it could be in the desert, it could be wherever, Arctic. You don't know where it's going to be. So you always have to catch up. But at least tactically, we were at a level a little bit higher than some of the other guys over there.
Wow. So you evolve, and leadership-wise, did you take on responsibilities and going through team leader, troop sergeant major, squadron?
Yeah. So before the war, we had Bosnia. With the Pifwicks, rolling those guys up. So I did,
which are super active for SMUs. Yeah.
Right, yeah. And so we did a couple of deployments there, and on my third one, I was an E5, and I was running a 20-man team. So, and I liked that. It was cool. It's like, hey, they're not looking for a rank, because we had a senior chief there.
Yeah.
Right? And the senior chief was in charge. Me as an E5 was in charge, and it was because of experience. So I liked that fact that was like, hey, man, we're not looking for a rank to be in charge. We're looking for the most experienced person, a good leader, a good fit, and doesn't have a huge ego and can work with a lot of people. So I learned that from those guys. And so when the war started, we already been running and gunning, like leading. So now we're just getting used to the new environment and those mountains. And first deployment was looking for bin Laden everywhere, in Konar and all those places, and running around everywhere. It wasn't until the third deployment there that, I finally got in a really interesting firefight, where this guy had killed 2 SEAL Team 6 members, and he was really high up on the pedestal, and the whole command was after him. And I was lucky enough to come up with a plan to get him. And even though some of the fighting the leadership to do the right thing, was, it's tough because you got some leadership that's getting pressure from JSOC and other people to do something. And I had learned from previous deployments how to say no. Like, this isn't a good idea. If you want, what's the mission? You want to do this? Okay, this is how we recommend to do it. And it's going to take 3 or 4 days. It's not going to be overnight. Overnight, we're going to get compromised. We're going to helos right to the building, and then we have to walk 6 clicks. Everybody's going nowhere there. We rather get dropped off by vehicle, low vis, take 6 guys and do what we need to do, and have mortars and things like that. The indirect fire as support. So it's just not black cast, which is, on-call cast, right? Back then. I'm saying that for the listeners, like, black cast sucks because nothing's dedicated. Yeah. And basically you're screaming for help, and you may get an international pilot from France that doesn't speak very good English. And then he's going to be hesitant to drop. So I always a big fan of indirect fire from the fire bases, 105s, 155s, and even just 60 millimeter, 81 millimeter mortars. Yeah, on standby. On standby, like 1 minute out, like using TRPs for reference points, and just like, hey, if I need something, I just call it, and it's on its way, all weather. Yeah, there's significant elements of special operations history I want to ask you about and see where you're at, that come to mind via my own experiences. Roberts Ridge being the first one. Yeah. Where were you when Roberts Ridge happened? So that was Red Squadron. I was back home in Gold, and about 3 weeks after that, I went over with our advanced team to get a turnover from them. So it was like 6 of us from Gold. So I was lucky enough to get like firsthand accounts and do that drive around Tora Bora just to see the battle site and see the train and get a little precursor of what that was like. That was my first deployment in Afghanistan. Wow. So it was good to get that turnover from Red Squadron. Were you guys getting was that a really in-depth, detailed AAR from what actually happened on the ground? Yeah. So it's interesting. So it's like, again, like being there and hearing it from the guys, because back then when they got back from an op, they do an individual AR. Like, hey, this is what I saw. This is what I did. And then there's more like a group AR that went to JSOC, right? But the command we never saw those as operators. So it was like really unfortunate because those things we need to know. So it was nice for me to be there and seeing the guys and reading their paper ARs. Oh, wow. Right. Yeah. And then talking to them, I'm like, wow, for Roberts Ridge. Because everybody had a different perspective. The guys like Slab and the guys that were on the ground, and then the guys that came to rescue them, hours later, what they saw. It was interesting to see their perspective and different versions of it. Yeah, it's interesting. Decades after that, and then certain guys like Slab and people from the outside perspective looking at ISR, looking at black and white, hot and cold, and establishing an opinion based on something that was very different from the perspective of operators on the ground. Yeah, this brings up a good point. So we have, and I'm not afraid to say this, we have commanders, master chiefs and officers that are running like, the jock back home, right? So they're back at wherever, Virginia Beach. And sometimes they're in control, right? Or it could be at JSOC or whatever. When they're in control, they think that their perspective of seeing ISR, that they have control of the battlefield, and they don't. Yeah. That was my biggest pet peeve, is that they're trying to tell the ground force commander, whether it's enlisted or officer, what to do. And you're on the ground, and you should be making your own assessments. You should be making the call. They should be delegating the call to you. Yep. And you should have enough trust in that leader to go, hey, yeah, that's my best guy out there. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. What do you need? I'll help you get it. But not to tell him, hey, I want you guys to pull off target right now. Or, hey, what are you guys doing? Don't do that. Things like that. It just blows my mind. It pisses me off because a lot of bad guys get away that way. And a lot of us get wounded and killed because of decisions that are being made back home and not allowing the people on the ground to make the calls. Yeah, I remember when they wanted to put, for a period of time, cameras in our sniper rifles optics and somehow feed it to, Packwind or whatever the ISR platform was at the time.
And I'm like, that is a horrible idea. Why would you decentralize a combatant commanded element or organization that you trust because you've selected, assessed, and trained them, and then micromanage the process from their scope?
Yeah.
And then try to give them feedback in real time or latency.
Yep. So that type of leadership is fucking micromanagement from hell.
Yeah.
That you don't trust your guys. And maybe you don't have any, maybe that guy's not a sniper and he wants to, I don't trust you guys. So that's another thing is like when you move up in rank, like for me, when I was Silver Squadron CMC, I didn't have time to do a 3-week sniper trip anymore. I didn't have a time to do a 2-week breaching trip, but I did have time to go, for 2 days or 3 days just to see the new capabilities and see what the guys had.
Yeah.
And then I had some knowledge base. And also for jump trips, I made all the jump trips because that's one capability that we have that nobody could touch.
Yep.
Right? That jumping in for hostage.
You guys utilize a lot.
We use a lot because that's a capability that the enemy doesn't really expect. And it's a tough capability. We lose a lot of guys jumping just for training. But it's a capability that not many have, to get like 18 to 26 guys on target within 150 meters behind enemy lines, flying 18 to 22 clicks. You could, that profile was really done for cross border from Afghanistan, drop them in Afghanistan from 30,000 feet and they fly to Pakistan and land, to get bin Laden or whoever high value targets, and then get the helos to pull them out. But my point is that if, as you move up in leadership, if you're not doing a little bit of the training just to stay up on it, then you're failing.
Yeah.
Because now you can't brief the senior people of your capability. You don't know the capability. So when they go, hey, can you jump in? It's like, I don't know, sir. Like, you haven't jumped in, but your guys have. They're totally capable, or they should be. You should be tracking what capabilities they have or what they're lacking in. So you could honestly say, hey, we don't have that capability right now for whatever reason. Or yes, absolutely we do. I just came back from 2 days on their 3-week jump trip. I did the final training exercise with them and they nailed it.
Yeah.
So one troop is ready to go. That type of confidence is what people want to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, they're good.
Yeah.
Not like, well, I'm not sure. Let me call up the team leader, see if they're good to go.
Yeah. You're like the continuity and confidence, kind of bridging that gap for the guys, right?
Right. Same thing with corporate. I mean, that's what you want. You want to know that somebody's out there. They know the capabilities of their teams and departments. And when you brief them, the higher ups, that confidence is real confidence. It's not just made up.
Yeah.
People see that. They appreciate it.
So interesting. Another element of history, which our paths might have intersected in that time period, was under Task Force 16. It's been called different task force depending on the nomenclature affiliated with the year and the time and place. But McChrystal's killing machine, where it was action arms with SMUs to include you guys, the unit, the CRIF, and Ranger Battalion, and the 22 SAS.
Right.
I remember that very distinctly because I felt even in the moment as things were happening those years, 06, 07, 08 in Iraq, that it was certainly a time in history that would be reflected on in the future for lessons learned and also for what was going on, what was happening on the ground. I think I ripped in with red and then ripped out at the same time gold was coming in or something. I can't remember the playbook. But do you remember that time period of doing those hits in that 06, 07, 08 Iraq time frame?
Oh, Iraq, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, for me, I was a troop chief. So I did a troop chief in Afghanistan in 2007, and then I went over 2008 with that same troop to Iraq. And it was interesting because I was a troop chief with a troop commander, and then I was under the umbrella of CAG, A Squadron.
Yeah.
And they were awesome, those guys.
Yeah.
So they're in Balad. They had the Hilo Assault Force and the, what is it called? The VI.
Yeah.
The VI team, right? Yeah. So they had a VI troop, and then they had their assault force. And I was under them. They treated us really well. But I was excited because I was like, okay, this is the time where there's no red tape from the command. There's no blue guys out here.
Gloves are off.
Yeah, because the Go Squadron went to Afghanistan with 2 troops. And then I went by myself in 1 troop. So I was a senior guy. And then A Squadron was our umbrella. They oversaw us. And I remember I trained really hard because I found out from one of my guys that was Blue Squadron, their troop was over there. And I go, hey, what do you got? And then they said, hey, we got barricaded shooters. And so I went to Detroit. We did some barricaded shooting. And it was interesting because a lot of guys were doing the hostage rescue stuff. And they're kind of getting used to just rushing in, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember in training, I go, hey, we got like this, a barricade here. And, you know, they throw a grenade in and they just rushed in. I go, whoa. So the guy, the role player, I go, hey, if it doesn't go into your little nest, you don't die.
Yeah.
You know, because we've already had experiences with grenade tossing contests back and forth with an enemy, right? And even a 500-pound bomb isn't going to kill everybody. You know, you have to still use your tactics to approach. But anyways, my guys are learning because they're getting lit up and they're, hey, that's bullshit. That guy was dead. And I go, hey, man, there's no hostage rescue here. Throw 3, 4, 6 grenades, blow a hole in the wall. Don't go in that fatal funnel.
Yeah.
Do something that they don't expect. And then when you think they're dead, then you send the dogs, right? You have all this process to do before you enter that door. And so I really rang that home to prepare them. And then when we deployed, it was interesting because I told them, hey, we're going to take casualties because I'm going to go after like hardcore dudes. None of these like facilitators. We're going to try to make a difference. So we really trained hard and I prepared them. And I actually took an extra team with me just to have 6 extra guys for casualties. And unfortunately, that's the same deployment where I lost 3 dudes.
Oh, wow.
And out of my 26 guys, we had like 18 Purple Hearts. And it was pretty brutal. We definitely took it to the enemy. We killed a lot of high-value targets, a lot of their henchmen, like 166, 39, 40 HVTs, which usually was like 1 to 3 HVTs and 20, 30 bad guys. This was like next level stuff, but we were on them. The reason why I lost those 3 guys was something that I didn't realize until later because we went out on Super Bowl Sunday. And nobody was going out on Super Bowl Sunday. And the enemy knew it. And everybody's going to watch the Super Bowl. So our 3 highest value targets popped in one location.
Wow.
And I go, hey, we're going out.
Yeah.
We're not here to watch the fucking Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That type of attitude, right?
Yeah.
And so we went out and we had 3 different targets, like 27 bad guys protecting these 3 dudes in 3 different buildings. Hey, we got 4 teams. We can handle this. We went out, contained the buildings, did our process for call outs. They came out with body bombs, wounded a couple of our guys, but minorly. We still owned them. We already killed 8 guys just trying to get to those buildings. It was a huge village. So we had control. I took a couple guys to one of the buildings that had 3 wounded guys from that body bomb. And I told, hey, don't enter. We got air support. We're going to soften the target, but we also got satchel charges to throw into the building so we could bring them down. There's no reason to enter. And make a long story a little bit shorter, while I was down there, a couple guys entered and got killed. And but we had the target softened by air support. Grenades were thrown. Dog went in 3 times. But the enemy learned. They put all the blankets and their clothing in the middle of the room, and the dogs hit the blankets.
Oh, wow.
And they went out 3 times. So they must be dead. And they walked in, they got lit up. So then there was a battle to get these 2 dudes out right in the door jamb,
Wow.
And so the grenades were going off and all that stuff. Other guys were getting wounded trying to get these bodies out. And then we got surrounded and we got out. I was so pissed. I was like, what the fuck did you guys enter for? And I still didn't understand. And then the next night I lost another guy, and then it just continued on. So you know how you compartmentalize. It wasn't until 11 years later, this is how well we compartmentalize. I was out. It was 2019. It was like 11 years to the day. Super Bowl Sunday, February 4th, 2008. Super Bowl Sunday, February 4th, 2019.
Yeah.
I'm at SHOT Show, my first time.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing all these Air Force, Rangers, Green Berets, SEALs. Hey, Jim, you remember this happened on this one deployment? And you remember you did this and did that? And I was like, whoa, and opening up all these little compartments. And then we're standing in a circle by the circle bar. And somebody said, hey, we better hurry. The Super Bowl is about to start. And they all left. It was like an egg just crushed my head. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Oh, wow.
That's why they hurried. Because what happened was they wanted to get back to watch the Super Bowl. Because one of the guys had his brother from the CIA fly in that night. I had to meet him at the airport.
Yeah.
And I still didn't put it together. I said, hey, I'm Jim Foreman. Your brother just died about an hour ago. And he was like, all right. And we talked through that, but like
they were meeting up to go watch the Super Bowl.
Watch the
together.
Super Bowl. And I still didn't put it together, right? That's why they hurried, because I thought everybody
was. You put
like,
it together at SHOT Show when they told
11 years later.
Dude, I got chills. That's crazy.
Yeah. So that 11 years later was like, wow. Because I was pissed at them. And then I realized, I go, hey, I have some accountability on me. Like, I was so hardcore to get these dudes.
Yeah.
Because it's just like taking them out, going up the backside of a cliff instead of walking down the road.
Yeah.
Like, you want to get them when they think that they're safe, right?
Yeah.
So that was like Super Bowl Sunday. We were going out. And we got them, but we lost 2 dudes and a bunch of guys wounded. My point was, like, I started to think, wow, I was pissed at them because they entered. And then my accountability for myself, like, this was like after you retire, wow, could I have not gone out Super Bowl Sunday?
Yeah.
Could I just I started to track them and get them the next day or the other day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's when I started to feel like, shit.
Yeah.
I have some impact on what happened.
Yeah.
That was hard.
Yeah, I've seen troop leadership, especially aggressive assault troop sergeant majors or CRIF unit guys. We fell under B Squadron under CK and Tom DiTomaso, part of task force, and they were super aggressive. But you see guys kind of go back to the hooch and try to unwind.
Yeah.
They got to decompress. But leadership, because they're in a designated role and position, they get that burden of responsibility. They're in it. And there's no time to lapse because you're on the clock before this rotation rips out. And man, I can't imagine. Obviously, you made the right call because I imagine you killed.
Oh yeah, we got all 3 guys. We got all their henchmen. But it came at a cost. And that's the thing is like if we go on a jump trip and a guy has his fiance or wife come out on the weekend or something like that, I go, hey, you're not jumping Monday and Tuesday because she's leaving Sunday. But like, because you're still like in the bliss of having your girlfriend come out or whatever, and nighttime, hey ho, is tough, right? Combat equipment. And like I said, we lose a lot of guys, injuries, just a lot, like broken femurs and stuff like that. So we don't want anybody to be in like this fog on Monday night or Sunday night, jumping in and, making a mistake.
Yeah.
So I would say, hey, just take the next 2 days off. And then on the 3rd day, I just want you to watch. Yeah. And I want you to be hungry to come back in.
Yeah.
And so I wish, I look back, I go, man, I wish that I knew that Mike's brother was coming in to watch the Super Bowl, because I think you
would have sat him out potentially.
I might have sat him out. I don't know if I would have, but like at least I would have more information. Information is key, right?
Yeah.
Because like I said, I think they were just too afraid to tell me because they saw how hardcore I was.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, yeah, Jim's going no matter what. And plus they don't want to miss it. They want to get out and get some action.
Yeah.
But they just wanted to cut it as short as possible.
Yeah.
Wow,
man. Fast forwarding a little bit, these time periods run together historically, but you have the hunt and killing of Osama bin Laden, which is obviously very significant in development group history. Where were you at when that happened?
So I went to Little Creek for a year to train up the. I was a command master chief on the training department. So I was running training for all the Whiteside SEALs. So I had taken a break. Red Squadron got the call and they crushed it. Blue Squadron was overseas. So I was a little surprised that they didn't get the call to do it, but it makes sense in a lot of ways, that the guys back here are going to train for it and just deploy for purpose and come right back.
Yeah.
So
did you have a feeling or sense of like you were missing out?
But like there was some pride, definitely, that fuck yeah,
Yeah.
That we got it. Because at the time, like between CAG and 6, like we both were in Afghanistan, right? And then we both went to Iraq, right? And then what happened was in the early years, I think 2004, 2005, they stopped. They would give us one team for our squadron, and we'd give them one team for their squadron. And so they stopped deploying to Afghanistan because they're going all in on Iraq. And then we were kind of like in and out of Iraq, but we gave them a team. So that was like the cross train. It was awesome to have a team with CAG, and they would have a team with us, and we could just see how we're working with each other. And then after a while, they just pulled that team out of Afghanistan, if I remember correctly, and they just were all in on Iraq. So we had, in my opinion, we had more experience in the mountains in Afghanistan. We had a presence there. And I think that's part of the reason why we got that. But they could have easily have done it as well.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. Like in 2008, I was talking to the A Squadron guys, and they came to look at my cage because they were awesome, man. They came to, I think it was around Thanksgiving, they came to visit us. Just my troop, not Gold Squadron Hestia, just my troop. Their A Squadron leadership and their team leaders. And they go, hey, Jim, we just want to say hi and come out to see you and just welcome you aboard when you come overseas. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And their snipers go, hey, can we see your cage? Can we look at the gear that you do in Afghanistan? Because they had changed their tactics for the recce guys. You know, because in Afghanistan, you got like long walks, you got like early warning networks that you had to get past.
Yeah, a lot different.
A lot different, right? And then there's not that much aircraft in Afghanistan. So if they hear an aircraft, they know that you're coming for them. In Iraq, there's aircraft everywhere. So they're landing like 1 or 2 clicks away and just walking in. And their recce team ended up being more like an assault team. So they had lost some of their skills. Because in 2009 they were going back to Afghanistan, so they're trying to like catch up on that stuff. So it was cool that they came out. It was awesome talking to them, like peer to peer, you know, trading experience, what they're doing in Iraq, what we're doing in Afghanistan, and have that, you know, back talk.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. What about, this is a tough one because I know you know a lot of the guys. What about Extortion 17?
That sucked. So it was always like that troop from the troop chief, Lou Langlis, badass, you know, to all the team leaders, like the recce guys. We're all guys I worked with in Gold Squadron, you know. I thought, like, you know, so we weren't using TF-160th pilots.
Yeah.
We're using reserve pilots, Army pilots, which were good to go. But they also weren't used to on nods. They're kind of training. So there was a decision that said, hey, they're not that good at nods. So like when you're coming in, they're hovering a lot and they're looking down to make sure they're good to go. So it's a lot of hover time, right? Yeah. And when they're coming in, it's like 10 knots for a long way.
Super slow.
Yeah. So the deal was, because I would deploy as much, even if when I was running Green Team, I still deployed with my guys, and some of those guys were on that helo later on. So I go, hey, we got to be current. You know, we're going to be teaching Green Team, so we don't want to miss a deployment. But we'll go not for 3 months or 4 months. We'll go for like 3 weeks or a month, just to stay current. So when I was working with those guys, the same pilots, just the deployment before, the deal was like, hey, those pilots would just drop you off in the middle of the desert. So they could be super slow, they could hover, and they drop you off, and then you walk in to your target, like 3 to 8 clicks, right?
Yeah.
And that was safe. And I think after a while, people start to go, hey, they're actually pretty good. And they start using them more. And my only thing, this is my personal opinion, that there was a river with, you know, fields and green, like, you know, 100 yards on either side of it. And that was the green area where most of the people lived with their buildings. Outside of that was desert, right? Yeah. So my only thing was like, usually when we come in, we don't fly down that riverbed because there's buildings all down there.
Yeah. So
usually we come in at a 90-degree angle to that river, drop them off, and then fly out. But they came down that river. That was my only pet peeve, was like, wow, they're going really slow, like maybe 20 knots down that river for a long time, looking for, you know, coming into their
like a minute out there.
Yeah, it was like 3 minutes out that they're doing that. So they had people could hear them coming. You know, you may not be able to see them because it's nighttime, but you could hear them, and they know, okay, they're down there. That's due north, that's where the river is. They're just going to fly right over us.
Yeah.
That was my only thing. And that's just, the rotation of people coming in and the last period, hey, they're actually pretty good. And next thing you know, you start allowing them to do more stuff. And also the recce guys maybe taking more charge of, hey, what's the route in for the pilots? Can we adjust this? And I'm sure that all that stuff was done. But that was my thing. And that's me looking back from home, right? I wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I want to be careful what I say. It's just that one of those things that people get complacent. I got complacent in a lot of ops. And that was my only thing. It was like, man, I wish it came in from the desert, and came in at a 90-degree vice coming down that river valley.
Yeah. But that's the critical analytical tactician.
Yeah.
Trying to learn lessons and
trying to learn lessons because even on my stuff, like I was telling you earlier before we started, like, hey, if everything goes right, like you get your bad guy, what went wrong that you could talk about? Like I was saying, like one time it took us 20 minutes to leave the fob. We left late, right? And that was because we had the wrong fill, on our radios. Mm-hmm. And then only the snipers knew how to reload the radios, right?
Yeah.
So we only had 2 snipers. So the snipers were reloading the radios because the comm guys were doing something else. So to reload the radios for 30 dudes took a long time. And so that's a lesson learned, right? We shouldn't just say, hey, everything went good, no after action. You should say, hey, man, yeah, we accomplished our mission. It went good. But who the fuck was in charge of loading the radios? And how come our team leaders or our 2 ICs don't know how to load a radio?
Yeah.
Like, what if you're out by yourself? You need to load, and the fill changes. You still got to reload a radio. What, are you going to wait for a sniper to come up and reload your radio for you?
Yeah, it's a common core task.
You little princess. Like you got to do what you got to do. And everybody should have that same skill set. And also make sure we got the right fills. The comm guys needed to do that and we didn't check it. So my point is that if something goes right, you still need to talk about the little things that went wrong, even though the mission turned out well. Some things could have been done better.
There's always something to learn.
Yeah.
I had the privilege of working on one rotation with Matt Mills and John Foss.
Yeah.
They were attached to A1 in Afghanistan when I was with them. Amazing dudes, really good guys. John Foss was like super quiet, super humble.
Yeah.
But just obviously a killer, a savage.
Both are good. Matt Mills on that deployment before he was my workout partner.
Really?
For there when I was out there for like just 30 days.
Yeah, he's funny. Matt was super funny, man.
Yeah.
He's
and
John's
just a fucking badass professional. You know, like just
quiet, humble professional.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man. So fast forward, looking back on the experience of what your operational career in Dev was in combat, what about what you guys were as a National Mission Force experts in, which was hostage rescue?
Right.
Did you have the opportunity to do any significant hostage rescues during your career?
Yeah, just one out of all the ones that we did.
Which is typical based on the squadrons, the amount of people.
Yeah.
It's about normal for a big, high level.
Right. And we would push overseas to do hostage rescue, and then nothing would happen, right? A couple of times. One was the Jessica Lynch one on the beginning of the war in Iraq.
Yeah. Was Andy with you? Andy Stump?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's one of your young assaulters or something?
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah.
That's so funny.
So, I was in Recce, and it was pretty cool because they pushed out the Recce team before anybody got to Nasiriyah, right when that unit got captured.
Yeah.
So me and 2 other snipers landed, and we just got on some vehicle going north, and we got to Nasiriyah. It looked like Stalingrad. It was like, Russian tanks, T-72 tanks burn out, Apaches lighting them up, on the outskirts of town. We got with the Marines, which are hardcore dudes, and we got assigned with their a platoon of Marines that were protecting their colonel. So it was pretty cool. We just hung out with them, and we went up to the river, and it was just like major firefight. Like they got to this canal, half of them went south and half of them went north, and immediately tick happens, and mortars coming in, all that. I was like, holy shit. It was like my first like almost like a conventional war. Like they're shooting mortars at us, right?
Yeah.
And PKs, RPDs, you know, I was like, fuck. I was like, wow, man. You know, that was 2003, right? It wasn't like Afghanistan where it's just like AKs and PKs, which are fucked up too. But this was like next level mortars coming in. So I thought that was pretty cool. As far as like, wow, we're here. But we were there to assess, you know, how to get them back. Those hostages. And we got pulled back. We did another op, and then we launched on Jessica Lynch. And that one was the hospital, right? Yeah. And it was across the river. We didn't have anybody over there at the time. And the recce guys, with me included, landed on the roof. And our goal was right below us, 3 stories down, was a garage that went to their underground little parking garage, what they used as a planning base. They had like sand tables and stuff like that. And our job was just to drop grenades on the hundreds of dudes that were going to come out and things like that. That never happened. They left not too long before that. And they had killed a bunch of dudes in some of the hostages right out there in the soccer field. And Jessica Lynch was rescued by, I think, one of the teams that landed right at the entrance and just ran right to her room and got her. And then we worked with the Rangers. The Rangers were there. They were walking in. It was pretty cool. It was like an all unit force. COs flew in. The Rangers walked in, and then we had another element of Gold Squadron driving in that backside. So we had 3 different angles coming in, so we could get out.
I remember it being from I was a new guy in special operations at the time, but I remember because there were video footage of Jessica in the hospital room with one of the PJs, I think, that was assessing her and some operators. It was one of like the first times that the public had a view into the special operations world in combat. And it was very, very impactful for young operators to be like, whoa, this is going down. This is happening. You just don't hear a lot of people talk about the specifics of what took place. I know Andy interviewed Jessica post that, but it was all pretty much ruined after people kind of villainized Jessica for getting the Silver Star and all the things that she supposedly did, when I don't think she had much choice in it, right? Much say in it, obviously.
Right. She didn't have, they're just rewarding her, you know, they're just doing what they're doing. But that was an unfortunate thing that happened to them. They get lost and they go down the wrong street and they get ambushed and taken. And they're not like the fighting unit, right? They're not the infantry. They're just like support. Yeah. So they got crushed. But yeah, I forgot Andy did interview her. Yeah,
which is crazy. I didn't. He doesn't talk about that a lot because it's such an old podcast. But listen to that podcast; it's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
listen to her, and that whole event really messed her up. I mean, that was a pretty traumatic event.
Oh my God, yeah.
So let's finally wrap up your career. Where did you end off your career, and kind of what positions and responsibility? And if you could name the highlight of your career versus the worst thing that happened in your career overall as a lesson learned for the listeners, what would that be?
Yeah. So, like I said, a sniper team leader, then I became a troop chief, which we talked a little bit about that.
Yeah.
And then I ran Green Team, and Green Team was awesome. It was 2 years getting the new SEALs coming in. I had like 8 instructors, and that was like, so they send guys to Green Team that are going to become team leaders. And you can become a team leader without going to Green Team. But the guys that go to Green Team become like truly Jedi masters.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing all the squadrons, they're just doing it, you know, all the skill sets from jumping to diving to CQC, all that stuff. So that was great.
For the instructors, the batter box is for them to step up.
You exponentially, it's like, you know, like they say the 10,000 hour deal, you become like an expert, right? Well, that was like that for Green Team. You become a badass. So we come back and be a team leader, you're truly, because you're also running trips, you know, for 50 dudes. You know, everybody runs a couple trips in Green Team. You're just working your ass off. And then you're also expected to know every capability and skill set because there's only 8 guys and they do every training event. So that was awesome to be in Green Team and have that cadre I had. And then after that, I went to Black Squadron, did a couple of years there doing the low vis stuff, which was really cool. And then I picked up Silver Squadron. ran that and did Afghanistan in 2014 and then Somalia after that. And I'd say the Somalia deployment was awesome because nobody wanted to do anything in Somalia. Our headset was like, hey, don't do anything over there. Nobody wants to do nobody expects you to do anything. I'm like, fuck, man, we're surrounded over there. And so right away when I got to Somalia, I pushed guys out, our Somali counterparts, and they got ambushed, So, but then we turned it around and, used that to take it to the enemy. And we did a lot of good stuff out there. But it was tough because the command didn't want you to do anything because they don't want, hey, don't make us look bad, Yeah. We don't want to get anybody killed over there. But at the same time, if you don't do anything, you become a target. Your base becomes a target. They had a plan to have 14 HBIDs and rock that FOB's world and then just assault, right? They're doing that to like Amazon forces, but they want to do it to an American base. So the targets were fresh, they're open, they're everywhere. It was a good working environment. It was dangerous, but it was with the right people. We did a lot of good stuff out there. So that was a good experience. And then I came back and took command operations for 6. And that was more of an administrative thing and trying to get the guys. Now I'm a support role, right? Trying to get the guys what they need. So I'd say the best experience I had, because a lot of guys go, hey, man, the best job I ever had was team leader. You can't cap it because team leader is pretty badass. And I used to say, man, why the fuck wouldn't you want to be a troop chief? Because now you're in charge of 3 teams. It's like you're a chess player. You can maneuver. You can call assets. You could do way more than just what you could do with the team. You could still stay operational. And then as a command master chief, a lot of guys did more admin stuff. And I used to say, hey, I have an admin rep. I have an admin chief. I had an admin LPO. I have an intel chief and an intel LPO. I don't need to be good at intel or admin. I need to be good at being a SEAL and using all my skill sets and experience to give it to the guys and help them plan. So Squadron Master Chief for Silver was awesome for me because I could actually really use all my skill sets. And then I could, people kept trying to say, hey, we want you to do this, do that. But like, hey, I'm the CMC, And the other thing is I would go on target with the guys.
Yeah.
So when they go, hey, what the fuck are they doing? And they go, oh, CMC's out there. Like, oh, fuck. So I would,
that's awesome. That's not typical, right?
Right. And because they go, oh shit, he's out there. Because we only had like 6 Americans and a lot of big partner force. And so if I would plan to remain over day, or at least have an option to remain over day, because we do stuff at night. But if we remain over day, that means you have to have assets in the air to protect you, right? The key is that if you remain over day, more enemy, you do a false extract, the enemy's going to come out and see what you did and you can light them up, right? So you have 2 opportunities to take out bad guys. So if I plan for that, it doesn't mean I'm going to use it. But if we decide hey man, this is a perfect time to remain over day. If you didn't plan for it, you can't do it. Yeah. But if they go, hey, there's be perfect time to remain over day. Yeah, I already got you. I already planned it. We'll do it. And if I wasn't there, the command would call back, even if they planned for it. They go, no, you're not going to remain over day. But if the CMC's out there, you're like, okay.
The decision makers on the ground.
Yeah, we're not going. They're going to do it. So that was cool. So I say the CMC of Silver was my highlight. The toughest one was that 2008 deployment to Iraq, where we really took it to the enemy, but we took some casualties and lost a few guys.
Yeah. That was a tough one.
Yeah.
You lost 3 guys total, right?
3 guys total, yeah.
Yeah. I was there with Task Force. I was there with the SIF in 08, but I was there with Task Force in 07. In that time period, 7 and 8 were the worst years in Iraq for American casualties.
Yeah, there was huge. I mean, HBIDs, all that stuff. The Army was taking heavies, just doing daytime clearances.
Yeah.
And whole buildings rigged to blow.
Yep.
They pull a flour sack off. They're already doing SSE. They got everybody in the building. Somebody pulls a flour sack, and the whole building blows.
Yeah, we had to do those call-outs because barricaded shooters, houses rigged. There's a lot of foreign fighters coming in. If we didn't do those specific tactics, I remember hearing like, "What's a call-out? That's crazy." Yeah,
that started. CAG started that.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
and it was really cool because we started adapting it right away. We got their PowerPoint, and okay, this is good.
Yeah,
it's something that you could do to prevent yourself from entering. You know, and then there's all the processes you had before you entered.
Force,
Yep, that escalation was critical to know what you can do.
Yeah, where were you when is it Ryan Owens?
Yeah,
was killed.
I was shit. I was either at Ops or I was over at Trade at the Little Creek.
Do you remember any of the details of how that happened?
No, I do know. I'm pretty sure they're at their ORP.
Yeah.
And this may not be totally incorrect, but I think they're from the ORP. They're moving to the target, and a building on the side lit them up.
Yeah,
I think so, but I'm not putting all my eggs in that one basket. But I think it was a building on the side.
Yeah, I served with Ryan's brother in the agency.
Oh, really?
He was a SEAL as well, but me and him were in the CIA together.
Yeah,
and good dude. We did a couple of rotations to Pakistan together. But man, it was a tragic loss for him. Obviously,
he's solid.
Yeah,
Way
his baby
solid.
brother, who's Ryan, was bigger than him.
Yeah,
and he used to joke all the time. But
and Ryan was big.
He looked up to his. I mean, he himself was a senior SEAL, a CIA guy with me, and he looked up to him a lot. And it was a tragic loss. But that's what happens when you're in a special missions unit or in special operations period, right? You're going to take losses. Is that something that you accepted from the onset? That was just part of the job? Yeah,
and we accepted that. And when you're in it, you don't think about it, right, that much. You just know that you're in it. And what I did notice as the war dragged on is like, wow, the same guys are pretty much the guys that are deploying. And the guys that aren't deploying are the ones that are looking to be leaders, right? Leadership positions. So they're kind of like gaming it. Like, I have to do this admin thing to do this. I got to go to school, which is fine. But what I noticed was like the guys that are hardcore operators that are deploying, those are the casualties. They're getting Purple Hearts, they're getting killed. And the attrition of the same group of guys deploying all those times, it takes a toll, even mentally, right? Your family, your kids, seeing what you see and dealing with what you've done, all that stuff adds up, and it can bring you down. And that's the other things, like the mental health thing was like, it wasn't something you talked about, because if you did talk about it, you're off. Yeah. You're off the train. Oof. So why would you say, hey man, I'm having some bad thoughts and I feel tough about this thing that I saw or what we did or this or that? Because immediately those psychs are obligated to tell the CO and the CMC. Yeah. And then those people would usually move them away from the deploying, which is a form of firing. At least that's how we take it. Yeah. And that can crush you. Yeah. There's a lot of guys that struggle with that, and even suicide because of it, because you're losing your family. So I saw that the same guys deploying are the ones who were taking the heavies. Yeah, I saw if you had dwell time, if you had lull time, guys had too much time to think about things. Yeah. So they constantly, if they weren't deployed because the playbook, they were training, they were adapting, they were evolving as operators, and then they were getting back in the fight. And so they didn't want to have time to think about anything. I did that. So there was no time to think because you're in it to the max. And I remember when I retired, that's when it hit me. Yeah. Like that's what, I went to the Super Bowl Sunday for SHOT Show, a year after I retired, and just people saying things that, oh wow, I forgot about that. I didn't know, I forgot I did that, and then opening compartments. And then like, it sucks at night when you're trying to sleep and it's quiet and they're creeping and all these thoughts come into you, right? That I still have problems sleeping, but you have to deal with it, and you gotta really find a way to move on and deal with all those little demons. Yeah, let's get into that a little bit. With you have a new endeavor called Actions on Consulting. Yep. Which is a great name. When you look at your career field and all the things that you've done, obviously you've learned a lot of lessons as a leader that can help a lot of different leaders, formal or informal, helping them, because there's not a lot of help in the world when it comes to that, especially nowadays. Men are lost, seemingly. Right. People are lost, seemingly. So you have a lot of lessons learned. Starting out, like, first and foremost, in your own lessons learned, how have you been able to maintain stability and structure, discipline in your life now, post that, dealing with all that noise leaking in the middle of the night? The one thing I do consistently, and it's like the one thing is like exercise. And I got to do that. Like if I don't exercise, like it has to be in the morning because at the end of the day, too much, it's like I got so much stuff to do. I got to do laundry. I got to get my pick up my kids from school or whatever it is. So I got to do it in the morning. And that helps settle me out. Like feel like I accomplished something. I'm staying fit, healthy. So that's helped. Now I'm trying to like work on my sleep, because sleep is going to crush me, the lack of sleep. I know you deal with the same stuff. So if you could conquer the sleep and find a new purpose, like I got my 3 kids, right? So I really focused on them, dedicating my new purpose to help them out. And also I'm trying to go, okay, I got to also do something for myself.
Yeah.
I got,
for the first time in your life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like before, your purpose has overtaken you. Now I don't really have a purpose other than my family. And then not saying yes to everything. Like, hey, Jim, can you run this course over here? Yeah. And next thing you know, I'm gone every week, which is what I've been doing. But now I'm gone every week because I'm trying to build my foundation for my company. Yeah. Also having a really cool girlfriend that is, understanding and helping and building our relationship, stuff like that. That's helped a lot. So you're not alone. Yeah. That's pretty cool for me.
Isn't that crazy, man, that you think about it's when you say out loud a 27-year career and just a couple talking points, bullet points, and you look back on that life, that is another life. Yeah. Like you're living another life as a new person with all those experiences that have turned the page. But it's like you have an opportunity, like in a rebirth, to start something from scratch.
Right.
And that's your company. Right?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your company and what does this mean to you?
So, number one, the name is like one of the 5 phases of an operation: insert, infill, actions on, exfil, extract. So, actions on to me was like the most important part. And I remember some people briefing, it's like, Alpha Team's got a containment, but they wouldn't brief like, hey, I'm actually taking 2 guys from Bravo for containment. So I actually added 2 guys to my head count, and these are the weapons I'm bringing. This is the ladders. You want to talk about that details because if you take a casualty and it's one of those guys in Bravo, you're responsible for him. So now you have to say, yeah, he's my guy now. Even though he's Bravo team, I'm owning him. So I was always anal about like, hey, brief the fucking actions on, because that's where we're usually getting some shit. So to me, that was the most important thing. So I named my company Actions On Consulting. And what I do is I do a lot of, like I said earlier, CQC, shooting, skill sets that are top notch. I got awesome instructors when I need them. So I only bring people in that are not only are good, but they have good social skills. Yeah. Right? They're not assholes or dicks or yelling at people like, fuck,
there's plenty of those.
Yeah, there's plenty of those guys. It's like, those guys are the ones that don't really know anything. They just like to yell. Yeah. That's how they compensate.
Kill bad guys.
Right, yeah. You give a body count or whatever. It's probably not true. But then I also do leadership, right? So it's like for military, police, but really for corporate. And it's like, hey, types of leadership, how do you get people to follow you? It's not just your rank or your position in a company. Like if that's why they're following you, that sucks, right? Because, you have to find, and also mentoring people. You have to mentor up and down, all that stuff. And then dealing with troubling people. Like this guy's like, corrupting my workforce because he's talking shit behind my back and he's an influencer. Yeah. Right. How do I deal with that guy? Or do I just have to fire him? Usually the firing thing doesn't do any good because it just proves that maybe whatever that guy was saying is, so you want that guy on your side. How do you get that guy on your side? If he's on your side, now he's influencing for you. That's what you want. So now you don't have to work down in the lower levels anymore. He's doing that for you. And the biggest thing I talk about is like after actions, like mistakes that I made, red flags that I missed, and putting people in positions, right? So other people could say, oh yeah, I could see how that could happen with me too. Like we were talking about earlier, the best after actions are the ones that somebody's saying, hey, this is what went wrong. So you could learn from it. Like, who cares? Like, oh, I did this and I did that and I'm awesome.
Yeah, you're supposed to do that.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like, talk about the mistakes you made so we can learn, because I might make the same mistake. That's the whole reason I want to listen to what you have to say, is you're going to tell me something that I would have done until I heard what you said. Wow. Okay. I'll have to watch out for that.
Yeah, I think it's so needed. People in general are desperate for this type of education, but building stronger companies and stronger institutions is going to lead to people being better prepared overall. I mean, that's one of the, I think if you look at all the things that we do in the military in SOF, one of the coolest attributes you take away is you've seen it all. You've seen every single type of person, their personality, their character, their value, where the rubber meets the road. Like, you've seen it all. And to be able to take all that experience and kind of convey it and shape it for an institution or a department that needs that's hugely impactful.
Yeah. It's like, and people say, well, I hate the dictator and this and that, that type of leadership style, or micromanager. But there's some times where you might have to do that. Like, just like on an op, right? You get a frago, like 100 meters from the target, and he moved to a different building. That's not the time to go, hey guys, team leaders, tell me what you think we should do. That's the time when you go, this is what we're going to do. We only got 5 minutes to plan. I'm just going to tell you guys what to do based on my experience. Right or wrong, this is what we're doing. Move out. So that's the time you got to be like the guy that just states what we're going to do. More like a dictator type thing.
Yeah.
But you don't want to do that when you got like 2 months to plan something.
Yeah.
Right? So you want to use a multitude of different leadership styles and use them at the correct times.
I love it, man. So just closing out, do you have a website? Do you have a place where people can go to like learn more? Or how are you putting out media?
So my website is www.actions-on.org.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you have any social media at all? You doing that?
A little bit on Instagram.
Yeah.
But not a whole lot. It's Actions On Consulting there too.
Okay.
Actions On.
Okay. We'll link all that down below.
All right. Thank you.
Man, it was a great podcast. I appreciate you, Jim.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Thanks, brother. Thanks, guys.
We all know something's wrong, but who's gonna change it? There's a storm.